Please be seated.
Can't forget to do that.
Good morning, my name is Kevin Ryan. I'm the state coordinator in Vermont, and I teach at Harvard University and work with the Vermont Bar Association. And it's my pleasure to bring you this distinguished panel of judges for Unit 2. I'll let them introduce themselves and have at it. Have a good time.
Well, good morning, New Jersey. How are you this morning?
Wonderful.
Grateful.
Let's try that again. How are you this morning?
Amazing.
Okay. Well, my name is Madeline Dunn, and I'm historian for Delaware's Division of Historical and Cultural Affairs.
My name's Andy Levy. I'm a trial lawyer in Baltimore, Maryland, and I also teach at the University of Maryland School of Law.
I'm John Kaminsky, Director of the Center for the Study of the American Constitution at the University of Wisconsin in Madison.
Okay, should I say that again? John Kaminsky, University of Wisconsin, Madison.
Ratification was.
Introduce yourself.
We'd like you to introduce yourselves.
I'm not excited. I'm Melissa Moskowitz.
See, that's what happens when you know the question ahead of time. You just want to get right to it.
Good morning, I'm Joshua Yates.
Hi, I'm Laura Chesla.
I'm Rena Cohen, and behind you is our teacher, Mr. Brodman.
Well, as I said, we are delighted to be here. We're in the Unit 2. How did the framers create the Constitution? And we know you're eager to answer question number 2. I will read it for those in the gallery. Although posterity has tended to emphasize the work of the Constitution's framers in the Federal Convention of 1787, the ratification of the U.S. Constitution in 1787 to 1788 was a landmark in the history of government. What evidence can you offer to support or dispute this claim? In what ways, if any, was the plan for ratification an example of social contract theory? And what precedents were established by the ratification process, and why have they continued to be important? And you may begin.
Ratification was landmark because it increased the involvement and impact of the people, thereby enhancing popular sovereignty and consent of the governed. State conventions provided a forum for greater involvement by the people. James Madison noted, "A ratification must be obtained by the people, not merely from the ordinary authority of the legislatures." This was innovative, providing the people a more direct means of consenting to their government. The transparency achieved through the ratification was landmark, as the debate and ultimate vote on the Constitution was done in open forums, unlike the drafting of the Constitution, which had been done behind closed doors. While some states ratified quickly, overall the process of ratification allowed for a more thorough debate of the issues and system being propounded than had previously been seen. This process continued outside the convention meetings as newspapers and periodicals discussed the debates and the system. The election of delegates to the conventions expanded the voting population as most states lessened or removed restrictions like those on property. Many of the conventions identified changes they preferred, some of which, like a Bill of Rights, later became law.
Social contract theory is exemplified through the people choosing to leave their existence under the Articles and form a new society under the Constitution. John Locke writes that men leave the state of nature and join and unite into a community for security of their natural rights. The Constitution was a plan for a government committed to protecting the people's rights. Social contract theory recognizes the need for the people's consent, making them the ultimate authority which grants legitimacy to their government. Professor Leonard Levy notes, the use of state ratifying conventions fit the social contract theory because the representatives' agreement exemplified the people's consent to unite and form a new society under the Constitution. The people are creating their own government through their consent in return for its promise of rights protection. This agreement between the people to form a government to protect their rights is the essence of the social contract.
The ratifying process set precedents including transparency and participation in government, the use of conventions or a similar process for other determinations, political parties, delegates chosen by the people, and representation. The open debate over ratification after a closed drafting convention brought the average citizen further into the process. According to Professor Richard Bernstein, after ratification, an increasing number of Americans beyond the governing elite took a more active part in public life. Most states eased voting qualifications, enhancing suffrage. Both the open debate and expanded suffrage allowed for enhanced representation. These precedents are important to help make our system more representative of its polity, as well as to enhance consent of the governed and popular sovereignty. The difference of opinion about the Constitution and its further implementation resulted in the formation of our political party system. Representative James Hopkins notes, the ultimate adoption of the federal theory developed difference of opinion which caused the formation of another party. This led to our party system, which is integral to our political system and the idea of compromise as a key aspect of our Republican government.
The precedent was also set for the amendment process, when 12 possible amendments to the Constitution were put forth during ratification. The amendment process has allowed the Constitution to endure through changing social and political climates and to better reflect its polity. Ratification also set a precedent for the Electoral College process. Both the ratifying conventions and the Electoral College use a non-permanent body with popularly elected representatives who are chosen to vote on one subject. The rotation of electors in the Electoral College lowers the chance of corruption and allows greater participation as more people can serve as representatives. The necessity for the people's indirect approval at the ratification conventions marked the importance of consent of the governed in the United States.
Why do you think that the framers sent the Constitution to the state with neither an endorsement nor a condemnation? Was this a wise decision? Why or why not?
I think it was a wise decision because the framers realized that the people, when they were ratifying when they were going to ratify the Constitution, not need to have an endorsement for it. They wanted the people to really understand how this government was going to serve them, and they wanted to realize that the majority of the debate over the Constitution was going to take place in the press, as seen with the Federalist Papers and Anti-Federalist Papers, some of which many historians have called the greatest example of the explanation of our constitutional government.
And Mason was worried because he thought that it was improper to say to the people, take this or nothing. And Madison and the other framers responded by allowing the people to get involved in these open forums. And it was, as Josh was saying, it was unnecessary to endorse it because the people really had the opportunity to have this debate. And it was what John Adams called the greatest single effort of national deliberation the world had ever seen. So, I mean, they had that opportunity. There was no necessity for an endorsement or a condemnation.